Hey friends, and welcome back to our book club, Love and Responsibility, as we delve into the teachings of Pope St. John Paul II, as given to us in Dr. Edward Sri's book, Men, Women, and the Mystery of Love. And that is exactly what we are talking about this week. Love. Of all the chapters we've covered thus far, this is the most important chapter. You might say that chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all building up to what is presented in this chapter, Chapter 5. We've made certain distinctions, we've clarified certain terms about human dignity, utilitarianism, the sexual urge, the dimensions of the sexual urge, etc., all so that we can have a better grasp and understanding of what true love is all about. And so Dr. Sri begins this chapter with a whammer. He says, ultimately, love is not about sex or feelings, right? Once again, love is not about the sexual urge. It entails the sexual urge, that is, the attractions that we experience to members of the opposite sex, right? Whether that's the sensual attraction, the bodily attraction, or the psychological, the sentimental attraction to the masculinity or femininity of another. These form raw materials for love, but they are not love in and of itself. True love is really about desiring and acting for the good of the other. And what is this good of another? This is where our Catholic faith is going to inform what the true good for another is. When we look at other human beings, we don't just look at other creatures, biological realities here on earth. When we look at other people, we know that these are beloved children of God, sons and daughters of God made in his image and likeness, and that through baptism we've received new life in Jesus Christ. And there's a call to respect that tremendous dignity in everything we do. And the commandments of God, the teachings of the church, all these things are ordered towards better knowledge of who God is, of who we are, and how we're supposed to act in right relationship with God and each other. So if you want to know, well, what is the true good of the other? This is where we need to delve into our faith in deeper ways, right? That might be the topic, or, for various other conversations we could have. But just to clarify that a little bit, because true love is really about, as Dr. Sri is, echoing John Paul II, really about desiring and acting for the good of another. To love is to will the good of the other. So it's not to just wish the best for another. It's not to say, I love you. No, to love is to follow through with action so that our desires actually come into conformity with our willing the good for the other. Dr. Sri then, echoing John Paul II, makes this distinction between the subjective side and the objective side of love. These are two sides of love. So the subjective side is what we've been talking about, the sexual urge, the feelings we have for another person, the bodily attractions, etc. That's the subjective side because it resides in me, the acting subject, right? It depends upon me. It resides within me, these feelings. But then he's going to say that the objective dimension, this is the action. So as soon as we begin to act a particular way for another, if it's a loving action in this case, it's something we can see. It's something objective. It's something that makes itself manifest outside of myself. And John Paul II is going to say that this is where true love resides. It's in this objective side. This is at the heart of what real love is all about, because it's that action, right? The action. It's not just sweet words, and right? It's about the will and what we're actually doing for another. So it involves the pursuit of the objective good for the other. Dr. Sri gives us some questions to kind of concretize it, maybe. He says, for example, does she really understand and want what's best for me? Are we simply living together for convenience so that we can pursue our own selfish interests? Do we have a common aim that is greater than ourselves? Questions like this try to tap into this objective dimension of love. It's not just, what do I feel about her? Am I attracted? Once again, that's part of it. But let's go deeper. Let's go deeper to the truth of the matter. And as we discussed last week, that question of truth is going to take place in the mind using our reason about what is actually said and what's actually done, what's actually made manifest in the objective reality and world in which we live, right? Okay, so John Paul II says, Love is an interpersonal fact, not a psychological situation. Once again, the psychological situation, this is what resides within the subject, within me, my feelings, my emotions, whatever, right? Not bad. But at the end of the day, love is an interpersonal fact. It's between me and another. It's a fact. You can look at it. You can point to it. Oh, he does love me because he actually treats me in a way that's in accord with my dignity as a daughter of God. He's not just using me for his own selfish pleasure, right? Okay, you can point to it, the interpersonal fact. Dr. Sri offers a couple of examples too. He says, a husband may not always have a strong romantic feeling for his wife, but he is still called to serve her and to make sacrifices for her. Once again, the subjective dimension might fade, his feelings, but at the end of the day, he's still sacrificing for her good. You can point to it. You can look to it. This is the objective reality, a reality of love. A woman may at times feel frustrated with her husband, but she will still honor and serve him. Right? She might be frustrated, her feelings, right, of frustration, but yet she still serves him, honors him. You can point to it. You can look. This is the objective reality. Will I really seek the good of my spouse even when I don't feel like it, we might ask? When I'm busy? When I'd rather be doing something else? Or what about when my spouse upsets me? Right? If we can answer yes to those questions, then we know that we're dealing with love in the objective sense, which is a deep love, which is an abiding love, which is true love. Dr. Sri then goes on to talk about self-giving love. Once again, very important. He says, in self-giving love, one's life is no longer one's own. One is invited to freely surrender for the other. That is, to limit one's freedom for the other. This is radical because in our culture, freedom is all about me doing my thing. But as Fulton Sheen would say, no, true love, charity, is all about doing the other person's thing. Not me doing my thing, me subordinating what I want to do so that I can do what someone else wants to do. Right? And that's hard. That is not easy. There's real sacrifice, but we do it in freedom. So we freely surrender so as to love. Freely surrender so as to be for the other. In the case of romantic relationships, we're talking about our wife. We're talking about our family, our children. As a single person, a man can do whatever he wants, right? That's the bachelor, right? The bachelor just living life, wakes up when he wants, goes to sleep when he wants, watches what he wants, does whatever the heck he wants. But once he is married, his freedom is limited and shared with the one to whom he has committed his life. So my personal autonomy is surrendered to the higher good of my wife and family. Marriage and the family become the primary reference point for everything I do. Once again, countercultural. But guys, it's in this that true peace, true freedom, just true satisfaction, fulfillment in life reside, because it's where love is. When we freely surrender ourselves for the other, guys, that's love. That's what true love is all about. My friend recently was telling me that, he's been working for about a decade and, he's kind of lost. He's doing something, but it's not really what he wants to do. So he's going to quit work and he's going to take about a year to kind of go find himself. And I just wanted to answer, when you want to find yourself, if you really want to be happy in this world, I just want to say, get married and go have kids. Get married, have kids, enter into a relationship where you have to sacrifice, where you have to stop being so self-preoccupied. If you can do that, you're going to be so much happier in this world. You're going to be loving, hopefully. Because obviously marriage can be entered into for very selfish reasons. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about love is in the objective sense that we surrender so as to enter into a deeper relationship with another. And so this is why psychologists will say, so women, listen up especially, the most important characteristic in a future spouse is this capacity to sacrifice one's own preferences, one's own desires for those of the other. Right? If you have a future spouse who can do that, that's great. Probably going to be a great spouse. If you have someone who's very selfish and is not doing that now, don't marry him or her because it's probably not going to change. It's only going to lead to misery. Now, this can be scary for people, this whole idea of surrendering and sacrificing for another, right? Sacrifice my autonomy? Are you kidding me? That can be a scary thing. But John Paul II, the church, we're here to say that to unite yourself to another by committing your life, surrendering, sacrificing your autonomy, Your life is not diminished, but enriched. The challenge is that until you do this, you can't experience it for yourself. So until you enter into this sacrificial love, self-giving love, you won't know what I'm talking about or what anyone else is talking about along these lines. Enter into it and you will see. Do not be afraid. I just want to conclude with a quote from John Paul II. He says, "Man finds himself only by making himself a sincere gift for others." Man finds himself only by making himself a gift for others. That's how we want to live our lives, as a gift for others. And that is what Jesus shows us most perfectly on the cross. This is what love looks like. Jesus freely surrendering. Despite all the reasons to not do it, he freely surrenders. He gives his life for love of the world. This is what love looks like. We need to enter into relationships that embrace the cross, that embrace self-surrender and self-gift. God bless you, brothers and sisters. Have a great week. We're united in prayer, and I can't wait to catch up next time.